This is Rebecca Lowe, or Rebecca Lua, if you listen to Suboptimal Radio, and you are listening to Men in Blazers on the NBC Sports Network.
It's unbelievable!
From the Embassy Row studios in the crap part of Soho, it's the Men in Blazers podcast, Rog.
Our post-Super Bowl special.
Yes, we're back in the crap part of Soho, Rog. We're back in the ice, the snow, the sludge.
After what critics have hailed as the worst Super Bowl appearance since Garo Yepremian attempted to throw that pass in 1973, David.
Oh, really? I never read our reviews, Rog. I never read them. We both had problems getting... Well, you had problems getting to the Super Bowl from Manchester.
48 hours, no luggage.
Yeah, and I had problems getting back from Arizona, but somehow we managed to get in and get out.
I was just glad to be there, David.
We're alive.
I've been filming in Liverpool with the amazing Roberto Martinez.
Yeah.
And when I got to Manchester Airport to fly to you in Phoenix, the snow came down. I'll just say we used to have an empire, and now 2 inches of snow came down on Manchester Airport, and I looked out, and the first question you ask yourself is my plane going to go? And then I saw this fleet of 5 snowplows proudly unfurled onto the tarmac by Manchester Airport authorities. And they then, to my horror, started to push the snow backwards and forwards to each other. It was like watching Dejan Lovren in defence. They clearly had no idea what the hell they were doing. And I knew then I was going to be, at least my flight was going to be 10 hours delayed.
You say that we used to have an empire as the criticism of Britain shutting down the Manchester airport after 2 inches of snow, but I might also say that America still has an empire, Rog, and yet the Phoenix airport was shut down by what they called fog, what I would have called maybe there's a couple of people having a cigarette in a pub circa 1978 in England. I think that these days, airlines, airports are very, very sensitive to any kind of weather, and they take any opportunity to make travellers' lives a nightmare.
Can you say when I finally did fly from JFK to Phoenix?
Yeah.
Never have I flown. It was on the eve of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Never. It was a packed plane. Never have I flown on the plane with so many white blokes.
Yeah.
Clad in Lululemon.
Their
sweatpants, with their sunglasses on the back of their heads, kind of like weekend golfer style.
Yeah. It's a good look.
I sat down in my seat, and the guy sitting next to me tapped me on the shoulder. It wasn't really a tap, it was a menacing smack.
Yeah.
And he proudly informed me that he was poised to break his record of 22 gin and tonics on the flight from JFK to Phoenix. And it wasn't Joe Namath, nor was it Wade Boggs.
Interesting.
I love America.
Yeah.
It was a bit of an odd Super Bowl. First half was like the CONCACAF of Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Second half was magnificent. That ending, the interception.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Manchester City 3, QPR 2, but instead of Kun Aguero finishing coolly, him choosing to just blast the ball over the bar with the title at his hands, Davey. Nice outcome of the Super Bowl. Chris Collinsworth.
Yeah.
Arlo White is now free to use the word
unbelievable or unreal.
Yep.
These are words that apparently Arlo's been told he can't use on NBC Sports, and yet they're thrown around with abandon by everyone commentating on the game, on the Super Bowl.
I think Chris Collinsworth has just shattered the rule book on the U word, as we used to call it
both
before
U
that.
words.
Yeah, both U words are now totally polite to use. But forget the game for a second.
Yeah, can I say something about the game, though? I've spoken to a bunch of my American friends, and most of them, and I've said, wow, it was pretty great that it was so close at the end. And they didn't like the ending. And this was something to me very different about Americans versus British people. For British people, that was thrilling that it ends on the interception and New England win. Whoever you're rooting for. It's just if you're a neutral, that's a great close end to a game. But Americans don't want to end with a mistake. They want to end with success. They want to end with like a touchdown. They want to end with the narrative, the way that a movie would go and end. And so many people I've spoken to are so disappointed with the way that the game ended.
I think part of the disappointment was to tinge to the New England Patriots. There's that a feeling about them.
Deflategate.
I do feel, not just Deflategate, but relentless kind of rule chipping and slight kind of...
They're the Chelsea of the NFL.
Well, what's funny you mention that, because my immediate reaction when they won and you saw Bill Belichick have that Gatorade shower, it was amazing. He instantly was transformed into, he looked like a slightly older Marouane Chamakh.
Yeah.
And I realised New England Patriots, they're kind of like meeting Roman Abramovich. When you shake his hand, you kind of know something dark and twisted has occurred, but you have no proof as to exactly what or why or how or whence. But wow, I thought it was a phenomenal Super Bowl. mostly because the ads that surrounded it were so crap. You had to rely on the sports, David.
Yeah,
it was the most earnest, depressing, sincere kind of set of Super Bowl commercials of all time. TurboTax delivered the most chilling alternate vision of American history, where the Americans said, okay, you know what, we're fine with the new tax system. Mm-hmm. And they let the British stay out. For a second, it was like a terrible, terrible dream.
Yeah.
A terrible, terrible dream. Worse was the Skittles one. I know that was popular, but it seemed to be promoting steroid use amongst the really young. And Budweiser, another super popular one, but they pissed me off something wicked. You can't take a Proclaimer song and have someone re-record it. You can't perfect perfection.
Yeah, no, that's very,
it's wrong.
very true.
It's violating.
The Nationwide ad was a little bit odd, Rog.
Your child is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little depressing.
What's depressing about that, David?
I know, it's a little bit depressing.
It was just one of many, though, mate. It was like the ads were more depressing than Barbara Hershey and Beaches. They were sadder than Lady Edith. They made my heart break more than reading First World War poetry. I Am Timish tweeted us to say the ads also were less inspirational than the Brendan Rodgers self-portrait. I mean, the worst one was McDonald's. I have no doubt about this.
Oh, that was genius. The one where you get a free hamburger if you call your mum and you say that you love her.
Yeah, the worst kind of love.
Yeah.
The one that you swap for 6 nuggets.
Yeah, for a free hamburger.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. It showed all these happy people behind McDonald's saying, if you just call your mum, if you didn't see this commercial, and tell her you love her, we'll give you some of our crap for free.
Yeah.
You might hate your mum.
Yeah.
Your mum might be dead, David.
You might not have a mum. That's what I was just thinking.
Or your mum might be in prison for killing your dad.
Yeah.
And the rest of your family.
Yeah.
And there's McDonald's making you have an ethical dilemma.
Yeah.
Mum killed dad.
Yeah.
And burned down the house.
Yeah.
And also did terrible things to the pet dog.
Yeah. But if I love her, I can get a cheeseburger.
How badly do I get one? I find that
very true.
I find that troubling. I've got to say, I always think there was some collective, quiet conversation amongst advertisers who realised if they just went honest and sincere for one Super Bowl, they'd have us all baying for cleavage, Danica Patrick's belly button, and relentless jokes about balls for years to come.
Oh, I see. They're playing the long game. They're trying to get back to what they do best.
Yeah.
Crap.
Next Super Bowl is going to be Boob City.
Yeah.
And if we complain about it, they'll say, you can't have it both ways. Which do you want?
Yeah.
The
Where does our ad or our spot, because it wasn't an ad, Rog, it was a spot. Where did our spot fit in the sort of the culture of the Super Bowl commercials this year?
It didn't have enough Shire horses, the feedback was.
Oh, but that was killed. We wanted Shire horses,
Yep.
but that was cut.
It needs. Do you know Minnie had a 4-door? Who knew Minnie had a 4-door?
I know, it's excellent. So roomy.
Katy Perry's halftime show.
Yeah.
Have you been?
Yeah, I've seen the Katy Perry halftime show. It didn't really look like something you'd do at a sporting event, that halftime show.
What,
but
Dance with Sharks?
Well, Dance with Sharks. And yet that does seem to be a pretty regular feature of her live shows. People have defended it by saying, if you go and see Katy Perry, this is the kind of stuff she does on stage. Why should she modify it just because she's performing in the biggest TV show in the
I think
world?
it's very giving of her. She
Yeah.
reminds me of Wayne Rooney dropping back into deep midfield role so that Falcao can have a chance of stealing your
or
limelight.
playing on the wing, you're right.
Missy Elliott
Yeah.
in the Falcao kind of role there, because Missy Elliott did steal that
Stole
thing.
the whole thing.
She did. And as I said on the show last night, the whole set was how I imagine Cristiano Ronaldo's dreams to look like on a nightly basis.
Yeah, without the Sharks.
And I think he'd probably swap out the Sharks, have more swollen, bulging underpants.
Yeah.
But you're a television producer.
Yeah.
If you were producing the halftime show, who would you call in?
Really, really good question, Rog. I mean, I'm not sure that they've really nailed it recently. I think that it's got a little bit too broad. It's not really speaking to the audience, to the sports fan who's watching the Super Bowl. I think we've got to go back to those big sports hits, the sort of like the rock and roll. You need the big sort of rock anthems playing in the middle of the Super Bowl to me.
Here's who I would. I'd
Yeah.
lob in a call right now
Yeah.
to Air Supply,
Yeah.
the Smiths, and then the Crystal Palace cheerleaders.
Yeah, it's good. It's an interesting halftime show.
They've proven that they can they can make a stadium hot in kind of big pressure game situations.
Yeah. I'd also like to do something completely bizarre, completely weird. I'll tell you who I'd want.
More weird than Air Supply and the Smiths.
Yeah, I think that you might go completely and utterly alternative. I think a Bjork halftime show. Somebody tweeted this. I think it was Molly Lambert from Grantland tweeted a Bjork halftime show. That would be amazing entertainment to see what Bjork would pull off at the Super Bowl.
MLS Cup people, take note.
Yeah, Foo Fighters would be good though. Can't believe they haven't.
A couple of highlights for me of our time in Phoenix.
Yeah.
One was Andrew Luck interview.
Yeah.
In a hotel at which you pay for by the hour, because that's all our budget.
Pretty
Good
much.
stretch, Dave.
Yeah.
At Blacksburg tweeted this after it. He said, "Your interview was a little bit comedians in cars getting coffee, except it's athletes eating breakfast with bald men."
Yeah, except we didn't eat any breakfast.
It's a nice franchise.
Yeah.
Bald men having
We'll work on
breakfast
it.
with athletes. What a man Andrew Luck is,
Yeah,
David.
lovely guy, lovely guy.
He's a lover. He's a fighter. He's a remarkable mix of human capability bundled into one bloke.
Yeah.
I do love the idea of the Andrew Luck Book Club on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I think that would do very well.
We kept talking books once the cameras went off, and he told me his favourite novel is the kind of memoir / novel by Henri Charrier-Papillon,
Yeah,
which has made me kind of dig that one out, and I'm going to read it.
yeah.
Read along with Andrew Luck. Second pleasure, meeting all the GFOPs at the George and Dragon.
Yeah, we went to the George and Dragon, fine drinking establishment in Phoenix. We also met them at Super Bowl Central in downtown Phoenix. A bunch of people came out to see our appearance on NBC Sports. Wonderful,
It's
wonderful
great.
people.
I'll say to the
and
Arizona
the local
people,
outlaws as well. We met.
Amazing, because we were at the Playboy party
Yeah.
on Friday night. It was like going to a bar mitzvah at which the theme was gonorrhea.
When we were saying,
They
when
gave
Rog,
out herpes in the gift bag on
when
the way
Rog
home.
says we were at the Playboy party, just picture me and Rog standing very awkwardly in the corner, nursing drinks.
I just couldn't work out who in 2015 wants to be a bunny girl. I think we lasted about 20 minutes. We just looked at each other.
Yeah.
And we realised we needed to get into a cab, drive across town, go to the George and Dragon.
Yeah, meet our people.
It was an amazing American Outlaws Phoenix showing.
Yeah.
And it lifted my spirits. It was like getting the best cuddle when you needed one.
Yeah. And that scarf, that Outlaws Phoenix scarf, beautiful. Really, really beautiful. I've already worn it. Thanks so much. Really nice to meet you guys. Okay, Rog, we got a packed show. We're going to break down the game many touted as the Premier League's Super Bowl equivalent.
Crystal Palace Everton.
No, Chelsea Man City. And discuss the return of Daniel Sturridge's dance moves to Liverpool. Plus, we talk transfer window winners and losers, or non-eventers. We're going to recap the Van Traps trip to Chile, and we're going to welcome a man we hope will lead England in the American Football World Cup, patent pending, Oakland Raiders offensive tackle and Manchester's own Menelik Watson. Okay, to the football, Rog. Oh. Here, cheers with your Guinness.
To Tweed.
We're now 23-38 of the way through the Premier League season. That does not reduce. And after a weekend that many thought would either resuscitate the title chase or kill it off completely, it remains, as we always knew it would be, on life support, and still nothing more decided, Rog. Chelsea won, Man City won after a fast start from City. It was the home side Chelsea that struck first. A series of surgical passes from Ivanovic to Eden Hazard set up a routine Loic Remy finish in the 41st minute. City responded just 4 minutes later when the diminutive David Silva steered in a long-range Sergio Aguero shot. Not even City's second half introduction of former Chelsea legend Frank Lampard could break the deadlock. Chelsea stay 5 points clear atop the table, 15 games to go, Rog.
Couldn't have been more excited for this game, David.
Really?
But I realised retrospectively, NBC were foreshadowing how blah it would turn out to be when they promoted the game with a split-screen image of Mourinho and Pellegrini, who appeared in those images to just be two middle-aged, depressed men.
And Pellegrini looking more and more like John Kerry, Rog.
Like a slightly aged, slightly withered, slightly battered, kind of roomy-eyed John Kerry. But it gave you an amazing television idea, this.
Oh, my word. Premier League managers in therapy, in treatment. If we could just watch Mourinho, Pochettino, Pellegrini, Wenger in treatment, in therapy.
It'd be better than the football.
I would pay, I'm trying to think how much money I would pay for each episode in pay-per-view, but I'm talking about upwards of $250, $300.
I can't wait for the episode in which Tony Pulis undergoes age regression therapy to explore his repressed sexual feelings.
That'd be so good.
That would be a
And
rating
Steve Bruce in therapy.
Daddy never said I love you.
That would be so good.
Daddy never said I love you.
Yeah.
Why, Daddy, why? Oh, it'd be amazing.
I'm worried about Sack Pardew, though. I don't think we'd get very close. I don't think Alan would you couldn't in a single episode break down the wall.
He wouldn't let us in.
It would take 5 or 6
He
sessions
wouldn't let us in.
to get Pardew down there.
Roberto Martinez would be just
So happy.
It'd just
Too positive.
such a happy, wonderful, warm man.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers, that would be good.
That would be 2-part special.
That would be brilliant. And Koeman would be the sleeper hit of Premier League managers in therapy.
Brendan Rodgers would be the first to sign up, but his rider would say he'll only do the interview whilst wearing a adult diaper in the corner of a sandbox.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be so good. God, Harry Redknapp. I mean, now, no
Rest in
longer, of
peace.
course, he couldn't do it. But Redknapp would be amazing in treatment, in therapy.
To understand this game, Dave, you have to reach back to the barn burner of a game that was the League Cup semi-final against Liverpool earlier in the week.
Well, without a doubt.
It was a League Cup semi-final win, a victory which Jose Mourinho celebrated rather oddly. He celebrated it as if it wasn't the League Cup, but the Champions League Cup that they just got into the final.
Is there some bizarre clause in Jose Mourinho's contract that pays him a massive bonus if he wins the Capital One Cup?
I mean, the big talking point coming out of it was Diego Costa, and English papers could not be more thrilled by this. They've quickly dubbed in the new Suarez, stamping first on Emre Can and then on Martin Skirtle. GFOP Judy Smith suggested they weren't stamps, Davo. She insisted they were jazz feet.
Yeah.
And then post-game, he told the world, I can sleep knowing I've not done anything wrong. How do you feel about all of this? The brew. I think I classify this one under B for brouhaha.
Yeah. It's a big brouhaha. Look, certainly the stamp on Emre Can did not seem inadvertent at all, seemed absolutely deliberate and seemed cowardly. The ball was out of play. The guy was on the sideline. Just horrible thing. And I think he deserves the 3-match ban. I'm not sure about the second one. I've watched it a few times. You know, we do have the benefit of watching in slow motion cameras when it feels that anybody can do anything in slow motion. This is moving at regular speed. Skirtle and Costa had been going at each other for the whole game. Skirtle had brought him down in the penalty area. Seemed to be a penalty, not given. And they were going at each other. I think it's kind of harsh to say that was a deliberate stamp. I think that did have a smack of inadvertent to it. But it's ugly play. He's a very aggressive individual, and he goes over the line, and he got caught, and there are thousands of slow-motion cameras around it, and he got banned, and I'm not sure that he does anybody any good by fighting it.
Well, he's triggered a whole media offensive by Diego Costa, who started to speak at length to the English press for the first time since he's arrived. The Daily Mail, great interview, where he talked about his upbringing in remote northern Brazil. He only became a pro age 16, David, where he signed on with an obscure 4th Division Brazilian team, which he thinks has given him his no kind of prisoner style. And you read him explain himself, and you almost begin to feel sorry for the bloke. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many ankles that find their way under his cleats. It's as if the field is littered with them, each one a potential banana skin. I found Mourinho's reaction fascinating. He said every ball, every action, he gives his life.
Yeah.
No melodrama or hyperbole to be found here.
Yeah. Although I do understand what he's saying there.
I like him. He's like Claude Lemieux in cleats. He's a cleater, he's an instigator, he's a nipple twister, he's a vaudeville villain, he's a heel. We love narrative. Narrative needs heels. But this game became kind of defined by who wasn't playing. Yaya and Samir Nasri for Manchester City, the hamstrung Cess, and Diego Costa for Chelsea, who sat on the naughty step watching this thing, and their team just seemed to lack a cunning and a midfield foothold as a result, David.
Yeah, Chelsea, certainly their creative options behind Cesc Fabregas are limited. This is a moment, actually, for the first time I really missed Lampard. In that backup role this season.
Nothing to miss, he was there, David.
Yeah, just playing for a different team, playing for the team in light blue.
Well, that was the other big story going into this thing was how would Frank Lampard be received? Really like a bit of he's received kind of like a floater in the toilet, David.
No, that's not true. That's your narrative. He was actually received incredibly warmly. I would say 99.9% of the fans there were delighted to see him, gave him a fabulous round of applause when he was just warming up on the sideline, gave him a huge welcome
clapping.
in the
They
stadium.
were clapping as a menacing warning, saying, have you made a will? If not, we highly suggest you quickly do so. Well, the reality
there
is...
were a couple of unpleasant signs,
A couple of unpleasant signs, but also the club, David, when Didier Drogba returned to Stamford Bridge with Galatasaray, the club gave him a silver boot in the pre-game ceremony. Mm-hmm. Michael Ballack returned with Bayer Leverkusen, and he was similarly fated. Lamps, not so much. Yeah, absolutely.
Not by the fans.
No, by the club. The club went out their way to do a pre-game kind of celebration of what he'd given to the club in his time. Lamps, not so much. And I think, David, that's because they loved Lamps too much.
Yeah, no, but Lamps was
love.
sent off from the club in a way that neither of those players was ever sent off from the club, Rog, as well. So I'm not sure that that's entirely fair. He's still beloved, but it is a massive storyline.
I think
and
he's
it's
still
one
loved.
of the
They love him
things-
too much, David.
Really?
And also, Galatasaray, you expect to come in and whack. Bayer Leverkusen, you expect to come in and whack. And I think part of it is a lot of it is the Manchester City thing. He's joined in an arch rival's jersey. I mean, this was a gentleman also whose kind of brand was so synonymous with Chelsea in a way.
Yeah.
Even Drogba wasn't, Dave. It was a bit like watching him come on. Even though he didn't do a lot, it was like witnessing kind of Milo Minderbender bomb his own airfield.
No, it's an
catch
interesting
22.
point. And the other thing that's certainly going on with Chelsea fans is Chelsea fans are certainly crying out for another Chelsea player to fully get behind. Because the truth is that Diego Costa wasn't made at Chelsea, Cesc Fabregas wasn't made at Chelsea. The only true player that Chelsea have is really made there is John Terry. And you've now got Thibaut Courtois, who, yes, was made at Chelsea, picked up as very young, but went and played at Atletico for a long time. So I'm sure that the fans are still warming up to him. You saw the ovation that Ruben Loftus-Cheek gets, and he comes on to go and play 45 seconds of garbage time at the end of the game just to take up time. And the fans are reaching out because they want Ruben Loftus-Cheek, myself included, to be so good. Is that certainly the fans are looking for another English player to really
I'd love
latch
him to be
onto.
good. It would really help Manchester City if he gets to be quite good.
Yeah.
Manchester City will take him. It'll be phenomenal for them in the Champions League. City actually looked great from the outset.
Yeah.
But it was Chelsea, David, who opened the scoring. You loved Ivanovic and his precise pitching wedge.
Well, Ivanovic with his left foot, not his strongest foot. He'd had terrible problems with both of his feet after the Liverpool game. He was bleeding through the topsum and through his boots. He hits a left foot ball that there aren't many right backs / centre backs / big boys like him who can hit that pass. Puts it into space with loft, with backspin, Rog, for Eden Hazard.
To cushion,
Yeah,
to roll, first time with topspin.
Yeah, in his step, striding onto it, and in step hits it with his left foot. And Loic Remy with a pretty simple finish.
From Breckshire range.
Yeah.
Oh, Hazard, David, that ball. And you have to note, a confused company, left floundering.
A bit match fixy, Rog.
You thought it was.
He seemed to remove his... He seemed to be so terrified of scoring an own goal that he removed his leg. It just felt that he could kick that ball out pretty easily. Of course, it was in slow motion. Football always looks different in slow motion, but I must say that was a little odd.
I have not seen
replay.
a once great man flounder so badly as company since Paul McCartney in that video with Rihanna and Kanye. But we think of Chelsea as mentally and physically tough.
Yeah.
This is a team built to hold on to any lead.
Yeah.
This one lasted just 4 minutes.
Well, in 4 minutes, and it was the flank where Man City certainly seemed to be weaker than Chelsea, and they made it down the right flank. Ball comes in. Fantastic moving screen, potentially an illegal screen if we were playing basketball,
This is
Rog.
what you keep claiming. I think it was more that Courtois has been reading the Brad Jones book of goalkeeping.
Well, no.
I've seen it several times. I'm not a lip reader, but I believe he shouted as he flapped at the ball, "I'm Australian."
Yeah.
It's proof, definitely, that Courtois is mortal.
He was certainly distracted, whether or not he should have been distracted, but he was certainly distracted by the diagonal run in front of him.
It was shocking to see Courtois. That's how great Courtois has been.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the same when Peter Cech was at his peak.
Yeah.
You always felt that Chelsea took the field with a 1-0 advantage. So great was their goalkeeper. That's how great Courtois has been. And watching him slip up as a mortal, it was as uncharacteristic and kind of unnatural to the eye, as if Taylor Swift suddenly
Although
just
what he
started to
does
dance
very
really,
well.
really well at an award show.
He's an amazing shot stopper, and his positional play, he takes on a one-on-one attacker brilliantly and makes himself so big. He's so difficult to score against. I think where he is still learning the game a little bit is on, and certainly coming from Spain versus playing in the Premier League, he's still learning that aggressive game, receiving the balls in the cross, claiming the ball in his own area with his hands.
And that was the game. Boring, boring Chelsea, sang City fans. And truth, the second half was relatively boring from both of them. It's a bit like watching a World Wrestling fight in which both wrestlers had kind of prearranged their moves. Both teams probably happy with a point, David, and make sure that that kind of 5 points difference didn't become any bigger or smaller. And you look at this Chelsea with their thin squad, Nathan Ake, Isaiah Brown, Andreas Christensen, and the aforementioned Loftus-Cheek on the bench. It suggested they had no choice but to hold on. I just find that funny, Dave, when you look at that bench and then you watch the Bayern game, the Wolfsburg game in which Kevin De Bruyne just absolutely single-handedly slaughtered the great Bayern.
Yeah.
Soon to play alongside another Chelsea reject, Andre Schürrle. Mohamed Salah also out of the revolving door that is Chelsea's kind of fringe speedy guys. You got Juan Cuadrado, the Colombian, the latest to arrive and probably not play a hell of a lot before being loaned out next season. By the way, dealing Schürrle to Wolfsburg, I find that particularly odd for me from a Chelsea perspective, the prospect of empowering a second German monster team.
Yeah, although, I mean, De Bruyne plays a different position. I mean, this is the wings where Hazard and Willian have it very, very locked up for Chelsea right now. Oscar goes and plays out wide. Ramirez can go and play out wide. And these young players that Chelsea have on their bench, I mean, Ake, Isaiah Brown, Loftus-Cheek, these are some of the best young players in England right now. They just can't get a game for Chelsea. And I think that's behind a lot of their transfers. You know, Schürrle, Chelsea once again did a very good piece of business. Sold him to Wolfsburg, spent a little bit more to bring Cuadrado in, so a little bit of Schürrle and change, but they sold Ryan Bertrand permanently to Southampton in the window. And another pretty good transfer window piece of dealing for Chelsea financially.
Yeah, numbers, business, economics, incredibly important. But philosophically, the thing I didn't understand about this game, Chelsea had proven they could cut City apart with an exquisite goal. Yet they never truly tried again. I think they conjured just 4 shots total the entire game. They preferred to sit deep. They dredged out the draw. Did that frustrate you watching? Or did the logic of the point repress that emotion?
Well, I mean, I think that Chelsea probably played the same game plan that they'd have played if they were 1-0 ahead. I didn't think that they should chase the game in the second half because, frankly, they were being outplayed. And I thought that the credit to Manchester City, I thought their wing players, Milner and Navas, who often have been berated, I thought they played very, very well, and they pinned Ivanovic and Azpilicueta back pretty effectively. So I think it was a good point for Chelsea. I understand why they did it. I think over 2 legs, I ran into City fan Mark Consuelos this morning, and we were talking about it, and he made the point that Chelsea had outplayed City at City, and it was a 1-1 draw. City had outplayed Chelsea down in London, it was a 1-1 draw. Over the course of the season, I think this was a pretty fair tie in both games.
I'll admit, at the end, I found my entire essence was crying out for a Frank Lampard winner, David.
Yeah, it would have been great
narrative, yeah, demanded
I wanted
it.
a Ruben Loftus-Cheek
The
winner.
drama, neither was to be.
Yeah.
And I think one more word on Frank. I think it's critical to remind ourselves why he's playing for City. Chelsea had rejected him. I think spurned a little bit like an Arthur Miller character. Willie Loman, was it? I want my name back. That's what I feel like when I see him trundle around in a Manchester City kit. Chelsea's home perfect record is gone, but I do think this was a massive result for them, though we wouldn't know it because Jose Mourinho and his self-imposed media blackout have kind of smothered some of the narrative. Jose is like a Portuguese Marshawn Lynch without the Skittles contract.
Yeah. I mean, people have been trying to say for ages that the title race is over, that Chelsea have run away with it. And I think before this game, a lot of people were saying, City had to win it to get back into it. But a tie is very much alive. And one of the reasons it's alive, Rog, is that the remaining fixtures for each team are so poised. Manchester City have a much kinder home schedule. They only play Southampton, West Ham and Newcastle in the top 12 coming in. But Chelsea have the kinder away schedule. They only have to play Arsenal and West Ham in the top 12 coming in. So
5
delicately
points,
poised.
15 games to play.
Yeah.
The first and second race is phenomenal. But I will say, the third and fourth battle, Davey,
Might be even better,
it's gone
Rog.
absolutely and completely beautifully primed. It's like a Royal Rumble.
Because we've got
Each
a lot
of
of
the
teams.
There are so many of them. Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, those 3. I'm placing Southampton.
Playing great football,
placing
exactly what I was gonna
Southampton
say.
in there, United too. Each of those teams, they're living a fairy tale
Yeah.
in which they were once frogs, but they've just been kissed.
Yeah.
Become handsome princes.
Yeah, they're playing great football, Rog. Arsenal 5, Aston Villa 0. Arsenal bludgeon the offensively impotent Villa at the Emirates. Remember, this was the game that Arsenal lost to open the 2013-2014 season. Goals from Olivier Giroud, Mesut Ozil, Theo Walcott, Santi Cazorla and Hector Bellerin put Arsene Wenger's men level on points with 4th place Southampton. Only goal difference separates the sides.
Oh, what a resounding result for Arsenal. You don't say that very often. We don't say that enough, but 3 wins on the trot for the first time this season. And this one, effortless. They didn't even need Alexis Sanchez, Davo. Aston Villa's tactics, it has to be said, were very, very assisted suicide. This is a team that have not scored a goal since the Paleolithic ages, and they'd set up to run at Arsenal, but their defenders pushed up so high, they invited Walcott, Ozil and Giroud to charge unhindered towards the polar bear beauty of Bradley Guzan. At Joseph FVS said, Villa going south went about as well as the Shelby's initial London venture. They need to join Spurs in order to beat Arsenal. Hashtag Peaky Blinders. Ozil, Davo. Mesut Ozil, this new kind of beefy, this muscled, this rippled Mesut Ozil. He's a Villa slayer.
Yeah.
All 4 of the goals he's been involved in this season, 2 goals, 2 assists, come against the Birmingham team.
Yeah, he obviously doesn't like Prince William, Rog, the famous Villa fan. He's a Republican. He does not enjoy the monarchy.
He's on my side then, Mesut Ozil, Davo. But that first,
and Governor Chris Christie's, Rog.
the first with a touch of a delicate lover to set Giroud free, to charge forward. The Frenchman almost ran out of gas at the end, but then he finished with his meaty French left foot. That is his 5th goal in his last 6 Premier League appearances. I just love that flick, Davo. How many times have you marvelled at it?
No, it was a fantastic, fantastic flick. I would say, though, on Giroud's goal, I really think we need a name for a finish like that looks like a player is going to mess it up and then somehow still manages to score even once they've done everything to completely F it up beforehand.
It was a beautiful finish by Giroud.
Yeah.
It's almost like he faked the goalkeeper.
He made it more difficult. He made it more difficult for himself and then managed to finish.
But that Ozil flick, Davo, it was the most artistic use of a left foot since Daniel Day-Lewis won an Oscar for his Christy Brown portrayal.
Good point.
That second, masterful finish also.
Yeah.
It looked like it was going wide and then just kind of curled back in.
Yeah.
And then that celebration that would, I'd say used the hands worse than Ella Mohammadi.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like Jeff Bridges' Squarespace commercial in the Super Bowl, Rush. That's what I said on the TV show.
Pity Brad Guzan.
Yeah, I thought he might have done slightly better on that one, by the way. And then the penalty.
He was just, and then, I mean, everything. He was so woefully exposed, Dave. You should describe the penalty.
The penalty, Santi Cazorla takes the penalty. He hits it pretty much straight down the middle, and it goes right through the hands, the fists of Brad Guzan and into the side netting, Rog. It was sad. Brad Guzan then reacts by taking it out on, who else would you take it out on? The goalpost, Rog.
Yep.
It was a moment when we both pretty much came to the same conclusion.
Yeah, if you're watching slow motion freeze frame, you can pinpoint the exact second when Brad realises, he says to himself, what the hell am I doing this for? I got to get back to America, where the toilet roll's 2-ply, where the food's real, where I can read USA Today on the day it comes out in paper at my breakfast table.
Yeah, I was thinking, at what point during that kick of the post did Don Garber start texting Brad Guzan, or was it even before he kicked the post, just when he conceded the penalty?
I think it might have been when Hector Bellerin pinpointed that final strike that left poor Brad, if you watch it, he was flapping around. It was like watching David Hasselhoff flounder after a cheeseburger. All I can say is, hashtag pray for Guzan. At Dogfish Bradford tweeted us, our Guzan, who art in goal, hallowed be thy hands, thy shots will come, as for Aston Villa, as it is for the US men's national team. Aston Villa, Dave, have gone 612 minutes without a Premier League goal.
Wow.
600, the 7th longest goalless spell in Premier League history. It's over 10 hours. It's exactly the same amount of time. If you walk around New York City as a woman, you will be harassed 108 times if you walk around it for 10 hours.
Science.
According to Hollaback, the non-profit that sent a woman around the streets of New York City with a camera.
Oh, yeah, I saw that video.
And she was harassed 108 times by men.
Horrible, 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 horrible.
Only bit of bad news for Arsenal fans.
Yeah, also horrible.
Chris Christie.
This is the greatest ever. Chris Christie, New Jersey governor and potential Republican who will not confirm that he's running for the presidential nomination, Rog. He shows up in London wearing an Arsenal scarf, and he goes and sees the game at the Emirates.
Yeah, if you thought his trolling of the American electorate with his Cowboys touchdown celebrations was bad, just wait till you see him dry humping Stan Kroenke in the owner's box when Arsenal win that 4th place trophy. Yeah, I do. I said it on the show. I think it's the Spurs swing vote, Davey. And they're probably a one-issue voting bloc. I think they care about Israel. It's going to change the face of the next election.
Yeah, I do think that Christie at an Arsenal game has pretty much cost him the Republican nomination if he stood a chance. Anyway, after the big New York Times front page expose of his expenses, Rog, that came out in the last 24 hours.
I feel for Paul Lambert, the Villa manager, Dave. Also.
Yeah.
He said after the game, "You probably can't print the things I'm feeling now." Never has a Premier League manager sounded more like Morrissey.
Yeah.
19 out of the last 24 points for Arsenal now. Ozil and Theo both scoring. The North London derby this weekend is going to be absolutely...
Yeah, it's going to be a cracker.
It's going to be a wonder. I can say one area I do think Arsenal can improve, according to my wife. She said Arsene Wenger's biggest problem is he needs to stop wearing a solid red tie. He's a man that needs a pattern. His collars are also perpetually weak. He wears very weak collars. He looks like a long-serving maitre d' at the best French restaurant in Appleton, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Change it up.
You'd think he could get a decent tie. French make fantastic ties.
Arsenal are sponsored by Lanvin. I
Yeah.
cannot think Arsene Wenger is doing that brand a huge amount as a style ambassador.
Yeah, probably not. But now over to a manager who is a style ambassador, Rog. Liverpool 2, West Ham 0 after a 5-month absence that probably felt like 5 years to Liverpool fans. Daniel Sturridge returned from injury. D-Studge, 12 minutes after coming on as a sub, he added to Liverpool's 1-0 lead and broke into a dance that the red half of Merseyside has longed for since August. Cueing Brendan Rodgers, looking very natty in his scarf, Rog. Very, very happy man right now.
Oh, Liverpool, sure he is. Liverpool are unbeaten in 7 games. Mm-hmm. They're the only team yet to lose a league game in 2015.
Wow.
Coutinho, Sterling, Lallana, Markovic, and now Daniel Sturridge. Mobile, intelligent, daring, pacey. The pieces are starting to fit in the Brendan Rodgers master plan.
Yeah.
All over again, Davey.
Yeah.
That first goal, the Coutinho pass, the ball deflected to his feet, but he first timed it into space with vision and topspin for Sterling to just run in on it, Davey.
Yeah, great finish from the young man.
And then, as you say, Daniel Sturridge is back, and I'm thrilled for him because he's one of the loveliest blokes I've met in football.
Yeah, lovely man. Spent a lot of time in the US rehabbing, Rog, including in Phoenix. Went to a department store while I was in Phoenix where the guy in the menswear department, I was looking for a new winter coat. I thought, where do you want to get a winter coat at a discount? You go to Phoenix where it's never that cold. And a lovely guy in the menswear department told me that Daniel Sturridge has spent a lot of time in that department store while he'd been in Phoenix and couldn't have been lovelier, couldn't have been nicer.
I ran into Joe Scarborough on the flight home from Phoenix, big Liverpool fan, and he made the point that the thing about Daniel Sturridge that he loved most about the return wasn't the goal, but it was the way that within minutes of coming back onto the field, he was just berating his teammates for passes not made. And it's that hunger. You could say it's a Suarez-like hunger to score because the two of them used to go at it last season when the pass wasn't laid on that they wondered. That is absolutely and completely back.
And the great thing about his finish, Roger, it looks a fairly simple finish when you watch it first time on television. You watch the replay, he fakes across the goal before he goes inside onto the near post. It's the way he opens his shoulders, the way he makes his eye contact.
The way he moonwalks onto the field.
I know, he came on backwards. I love that touch, Roger.
It was a return that was as dramatic as Michael Keaton's Regan Thompson in Birdman.
Yeah.
But if I was a Liverpool fan, and I don't know if I've told you this, but I'm not.
Yeah, weird that.
I'd draw courage from the way that the 3-man backline contained West Ham snuffing out the vaunted Andy Carroll on his return and picking up quietly another clean sheet. I say this because the derby awaits.
Yeah.
I hate Derby Day, Davey.
I know you don't like it, Rog. You get very dark.
The game matters too much. This game fills me with dread more than most. I think I've got a feeling Liverpool will be like a shiver of hammerhead sharks sensing blood. One thing about Sturridge, Davey, I loved his comments to the press about what he learned while he was injured. He said, I learned that the stresses I had before should not be stresses anymore. I have to have a very different approach to pressure from now on. And I liked it. I've been spending a lot of time with a Californian woman who had breast cancer and beat it last year. And she said that the whole experience, partially being Californian, but partially her health, has led her to try and encourage her kids to not sweat the small stuff. Do you believe it's possible to do that, or is it just repression?
No, absolutely you can. To be positive, Rog, you got to move on. You do use other Rog quite effectively to try and talk yourself out of sweating the small stuff. Other Rog is always there telling main Rog to not complain, not moan, not talk about being delayed on a flight, not talk about having lost his bags.
Nobody likes a luggage loser.
You're absolutely right, Rog. Well, and another team playing much better football, Rog. Manchester United 3, Leicester City 1. United climb into third place, while lowly Leicester continue to take on water. Robin van Persie, Rog, and Radamel Falcao put United up 2-0 in the first 32 minutes. Leicester's Wes Morgan turned a third into his own net just before half-time, and the Foxes never recovered.
4-4-2 Diamonds are Van Gaal's best friend.
Yeah.
We loved how Louis van Gaal turned up for this one, dressed in a colossal, swollen red scarf.
It was a snuggie, Rog.
Producer Lexi wrote to me to suggest that LVG looks ever more like Julie Andrews.
Oh, that's so nice.
She wrote LVG's regal stance and attitude with his delicate scarf and Julie Andrews' haircut and beautiful face. If only he was singing, they would be one and the same person. He's so angelic, the hills are basically always alive, Dave. And they were alive for good reason. Van Persie and Falcao both scored. Who needed more, Dave? That 5-3 defeat to Leicester back in September has been revenged.
Yeah, it's been reversed, Rog. Yeah, no, goals, very important for both those men. Robin van Persie's goal just after a horrible miss that had us both just remarking that how could this possibly be the same man who scored that amazing goal with his head at the World Cup? Seemed to have lost his confidence. And then a fantastic finish for Man United's opening goal, Rog.
The only oddity of the game was Wayne Rooney playing holding midfielder in that second half. The Jermaine Jonesification of England's one mildly able attacking force continues. Leicester offered less than I expect Cambridge United will give this afternoon when they play in the FA Cup game. At Clark Dynamo tweeted us to say, is Daniel Drinkwater the most English name ever?
Yeah, arguably.
Arguably more than Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, more than James Ward-Prowse. The most English name I can think of, Davo, is that Labour politician. Ed Balls.
Ed Balls, yeah.
Yeah, that's about as English as it gets. That Ed Balls is the English version of God Shamagod.
Yeah.
Well, I did find out you love the rodeo bull riding.
Yeah.
And I've just been getting into it a little bit to try and...
Ryan Dirt Eater. That's
the
a
man.
good name.
That's the man.
Yeah.
God, if I could change my name, that's up there with Billy
That's
Ocean.
a Native American name, though. Ryan Dirt Eater
it
is Native American, but it's a fantastic, fantastic name.
It's up there in the Billy Ocean echelon, as far as I'm
fantastic
concerned.
Name. West Brom 0, Tottenham 3, Rod. Spurs Fairhead duo of Christian Eriksen and Harry Kane, who might be a bottle blonde Harry Kane, continue their outstanding form. Eriksen put Tottenham ahead in the 6th minute with a swerving free kick that found the top corner, and Kane added 2 more, including one from the penalty spot. Spurs now just 2 points off the top 4. You said earlier that Wayne Rooney is England's only mildly talented offensive threat, or words to that matter. We just talked about Sturridge and Harry Kane. England suddenly with a wealth of attacking talent, Rog.
Harry Kane, Dave, I'm beginning to think he's not actually English.
Harry Kane.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. I mean, by the way, Tottenham Hotspur, 2-man team, Dave. 2-man team. Christian Eriksen, no man has scored more winning goals than him. I think it's 6.
Yeah, and DeAndre Yedlin.
And then Real Madrid's Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Spanking home a second. And I do mean spank, Dave.
Yeah, he spanked it.
He
just puts his laces through the ball. He doesn't aim anymore. He just thinks, I want to hit this ball as hard as possible. He's like Hot Shot Hamish, who was a comic book character we used to read when we were kids, who's played in the Scottish First Division, and he just used to just whack the ball. He was a large Scotsman.
The goalie would always save it. He'd catch it,
but then he would fly into the back of the net.
The force of the shot would knock.
And the net would break with the goalkeeper and the ball.
It was a bit like when I was facing Spencer Lanning from about 20 feet away, and for a laugh, I said, why don't you punt the ball as hard as you can at me?
Yeah.
And he did. And people have said I wasn't very good at saving it. I've got to tell you, I crapped my pants.
Yeah.
I actually did crap my pants as he did that.
Just a little bit.
I think when Harry Kane, it's called Turtlehead in Liverpool, but when Harry Kane spanked that ball...
Carry on.
When Harry Kane swung that ball, David, I mean, I was scared if the goalie did actually save it, it would blow him through the back of the net. A new 5.5-year contract signed for the bloke who scored 8 goals in his last 8 Premier League appearances. I'm sure that contract means a lot and won't be ripped up once Real Madrid come sniffing around him, David. The more I watch Kane, technically, I think he's a player who, more and more, who thrives off 10% skill and about 90% just complete confidence.
Self-belief. That's who he is, without any doubt whatsoever.
3-0, but again, I should add, Lloris, unbelievable, fine, stiff wrist form. Can you now, Davo, call the North London derby for us so we don't have to watch it, predict the future?
This is a game I really am looking forward to. Because usually a close game like this, both teams need it separated by only 2 points.
56.
You'd think that a draw would be the most likely result, but these teams properly hate each other. Arsenal have all these players back who are newly resurgent. As you say, Tottenham have these players in form. I think there are going to be plenty of goals. I think it's going to be 3-2. But I can't call it. I don't know who's going to have 3 and who's going to have 2, Ross.
I think it's 2-2, David.
Yeah, wow.
God, I just
High-scoring draw.
He's not going to play, I don't think, but I just wish DeAndre Yedlin could run on and get that equaliser late in the day. DeAndre Yedlin, the Widowmaker.
That would be amazing, Rog. Okay, Southampton 0, Swansea 1. An 83rd minute John Joe Shelby won. What? An 83rd minute John Joe Shelby wonder strike gives the Swans their first win at St Mary's in 67 years. It's Southampton's first loss in their last 7 leagues games. Southampton in crisis.
Brutal day for the Saints. They wobbled just as the battle for 3rd and 4th heats up. They had 63% possession. They had 9 corners to Swansea 0, but they just could not stop the man named John Joe.
Yeah.
A man who I remain convinced looks like halitosis if it was formed as a human body. He scored with Swansea's first shot on target, Davey.
Amazing.
In the 83rd minute, his manager, Gary Monk, said afterwards, when John Joe's motivation and work ethic are high, the quality is there to see, which is probably backhanded compliment of the weekend. I will say, when every time Arlo White says John Joe Shelby in his Midlands brogue.
John Joe Shelby.
He actually said, it sounds like he's saying Shelby.
Yeah.
I get all Peaky Blinders and very excited. At Pig Mundia tweeted us and said, you wouldn't want to mess with John Joe. He's the most mental of all the Shelbys. Yes, even more mental than Arthur. Aunt Paul has probably got a better right foot.
You know,
Peaky
when we were in
Blinders fans.
Phoenix, they put the next day's weather on our pillow, and there was a little sort of fun fact about the weather in Phoenix, that Phoenix holds the record for the highest temperature and the lowest temperature in a single day. The delta between them is the highest that has ever been recorded anywhere in the world. And that, for me, is John Joe Shelby.
That
no
gap is
footballer.
technically known by John Joe as a John Joe
it's called
Shelby.
the Shelby gap. The Shelby delta is no player is capable of such brilliance and such crap within the same 90 minutes of football.
Well, talking about brilliant crap, David.
Yeah.
Hull and Newcastle.
Oh, yes. Hull, 0. Newcastle, 3. Goals from Remy Cabella, his first, I believe. Sammy Amiobi and Johan Gouffran give the Magpies their first win since Zach Pardew's departure, Rog.
Yeah, and the story of the game, El Mohammadi.
Yeah.
El Mohammadi.
Yeah.
Not only did he punch the ball into the Newcastle net, he then ran off to celebrate. Mm-hmm. Not only did he run off to celebrate, he then looked flabbergasted when the referee blew his whistle and then even argued his innocence with a straight face, Davey.
Yeah.
It was, I thought it was absolutely so deeply, I think the social fabric tore just a little bit when I watched that.
Yeah, very, very true. Maradona got away with it. Why wouldn't El Mohammadi?
It was the most mortifying use of hands in football.
Yeah.
Since David Beckham revealed he was forced to fondle his own undercarriage in front of his Manchester United teammates when he joined the squad in 1991. Hull have won just 2 of their last 13 Premier League games. Mm-hmm. They failed to score in 11 of their last 15. I feel for Hull fans suffering through such misery, even though I know that suffering is the essence of sporting fandom.
But post-game, that would have been an amazing opportunity to shoot Premier League managers in treatment, the Steve Bruce edition. It would have been amazing post that game. Stoke 3, Queen's Park Raisins 1. Jonathan Walters nets a perfect hat-trick, scoring with his left foot, right foot and head to see the Potters past the Queen's Park Raisins. And today, head raisin Harry Redknapp, Rog, has announced he's stepping down as manager because he needs knee surgery. I need knee surgery.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd day for the Raisins fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit upset personally because he's quit QPR without the Premier League writers ever revealing to us what Harry Redknapp has had stuffed in his jowls all this time. That's one of my favourite.
Hibernating.
One of my favourite subplots of the season.
Uh-huh.
But what will Queen's Park Raisins do now without their chief Sultana, David?
Yeah.
I love his excuse. Mm-hmm. He said, I have to have knee surgery and it will hinder me doing my job.
Yeah.
As if the crazy bloated Premier League chairs the managers have to sit in on the sidelines are not that comfortable for a man with a dodgy knee. Les Ferdinand and Chris Ramsey are in temporary charge. GFOP David R, a QPR fan, calls this the most conveniently scheduled knee surgery in the history of the Premier League.
Yeah, and it's also coming off the transfer window where Queen's Park Racing did barely any business, Rog. Just seems very suspicious. Once again, Harry Redknapp, one of our favourite Premier League characters, he exits the scene for now.
Harry to MLS.
Yeah.
We'd love it. He was actually in NASL as a sounder back in the day. Google is, there's a photo of him by the swimming pool in Seattle in the tightest bikini possible. It is worth the price of a Google.
Sunderland 2. But what is the price of a Google, Rog? Sunderland 2, Burnley 0. The Premier League's second sexiest fixture of the weekend behind Chelsea City sees MLS cast off Jermaine Defoe open his account for the Black Cats. Sunderland now up to 14th, Rog. And in Roger's game of the weekend, Crystal Palace 0, Everton 1, a second-minute Romelu Lukaku goal, not too early, proves the difference at Selhurst Park and blemishes Alan Pardew's perfect Palace record. Rog, what are your feelings on that game?
Rebecca Lane 0, Rog 1.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love it. 1 minute 49 seconds, Lukaku prodded the ball home off what Arlo White would diplomatically refer to as his meaty Belgian genitalia.
Yeah, his undercarriage, Rog.
A win is a win, David. This one was very, very David Moyesy in style. It was ugly on the eye. It was as ugly as Marwan Shamat with a busted nose, which we also got to see during this game. I say only Phil Jagielka's acrobatic clearance off the line kept us in the game. It was like watching a Dude Perfect video. I say for Everton, Davo, the relegation battle is so very real.
Yeah.
Roberto Martinez admitted it before the game. He said his battle is now to get the team past 40 points. I was with him last week. We shot with him on Wednesday afternoon for another documentary we're making for NBC Sports. And he said to me, the first two games, he said, this squad, he said, believed that we could actually challenge for the title coming into this season, and then the first two games, the results knocked the stuffing out of the team, and there was confidence that we've never regained. And I love him and I adore him. I think he's such a warm, intelligent, deeply thoughtful human being. I hope that he can resummon that lost confidence.
Yeah, I must say I was surprised that he made those comments admitting to be in a relegation battle. But I don't think Everton are going to be in a relegation battle, Rog. There are so many crap teams below them in the Premier League. I think it would have been smarter for him just to say, we're confident, the dressing room is brimming with confidence, we're starting to play better, we're bringing in some new players in the transfer window, which he did, and I think they're going to be fine.
I pray you're right, David. The film we're making is about what does a Premier League manager actually do. I was fascinated.
Can't wait to see it.
I asked him just every question I've always wanted to ask a manager, like what do they say to them? When do they pick the team? When do they tell the team they've been picked? What do they say right before the players go out onto the field? And my favourite, what do they say when they walk onto the field? They know all the cameras are on them. And then they hug the opposing manager and do that funny neck clasping thing.
Yeah.
I asked him, do you actually say things or do you just say mumble, mumble, mumble?
And what did he say, or do we have to wait to see the film?
You have to wait to see it. Okay. I think it's on March the 1st. I also learned, Davo, in filming it, I'm allergic to aftershave.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He wears a. I remember once seeing Ahmad Rashad on the at an NBA game, and he was sitting by Bill Murray, and they were doing an interview, and Bill Murray in the middle of the interview just goes, "Oh my God, Ahmad, you're wearing enough aftershave for both of us." And I'm not saying Roberto wears a lot of aftershave, but during the interview, my throat just started closing up. And then right at the end of the interview, we were walking around Finch Farm, the training ground, and then my throat just closed completely. You know when you're shooting, you just want to push through everything. And I started to panic. I couldn't get words. I tried to ask him a question. I couldn't get words out. I just croaked a little bit. And then I fell over.
Yeah, turtle head. Okay, from South London to South America. Roger, the US men's national team lost their first match of 2015 in Chile, 3-2 last Wednesday, despite goals from Breck Shea and Dare to Josie.
What is this? Is it 2013, man?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I watched this game in Liverpool, David.
Yeah.
I watched US play Chile on French television in Liverpool. That is modern football. The French commentator just kept shouting for the US team whenever they had the ball. He didn't know the players. He just kept shouting, Yankee, 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 when they ran forward, which I kind of loved. And I think maybe Ian Dark should start shouting that. It's fabulous, entertaining. Breck Shea, the Brienne of Tarth of US soccer, Josie, proved Jurgen right that Sunderland and Barnsley were exactly what they needed to resurrect their careers, a spell in those places. Hang on a minute. They proved Jurgen totally wrong. It's Toronto and Orlando that have resuscitated their scurrying ways. US has won just one game in its last 9 since the victory over Ghana in the World Cup, but who cares? Mm-hmm. To me, it was less a big game. It was more an open audition for the wider talent pool. By the way, the same goes for Chile, who fielded one World Cup player. This is all about experimentation. And Jurgen's casting couch. I love Jurgen's casting couch.
Well, not just his casting couch, also the formation, playing that three-man back line, playing Jermaine Jones in the centre of defence, Rog.
I think three-man back lines are like football's equivalent of wearing a Von Dutch trucker cap. It's like chasing Hitless, but not quite working
That's
at
so
it.
funny.
It's like Jurgen tweaked it. He then went 2 at the back.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the game, he was really playing 1 at the back.
Wow.
I don't know what Jurgen said at halftime to these guys.
In primary school, we used to play 2-3-5.
You did?
Yeah, that was the formation we played.
You were very defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played nobody at the back.
Yeah,
all of
2,
us
3,
just
5.
we're all goal hangers. At halftime, I don't know if he just commanded all his players to move to Sunderland and Stoke immediately, but they came out totally flat. We learned that Bobby Wood is Hawaiian for Roberto Soldado. Will Trapp needs to change his name to Von. Steve Birnbaum is my new favourite US international. I think he brings a real balance to the team, a Jewish balance.
Is
to
he
the
Jewish?
Side, yeah, a nice Jewish balance to the side that's been vacated since Benny Feilhaber, Jonathan Spector and Bornstein left the team. Sardes has got Premier League hair. And play Ibarra more, for God's sake. I love that little man. He's from the NASL. He's one of my favourite players. Stick him on the field. At the end, Jurgen experimented, but then he berated the players. He said the US were the better team, but it was a lack of their fitness that gave the game away.
Wow, interesting.
Sad to learn, David, of the passing of Frank Borgi, goalkeeper in USA 1, England 0, World Cup 1950, one of my favourite games of football ever.
Yeah.
Aged 89, Walter Barr is now the last remaining team member from that wonderful World Cup run left alive.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Absolutely. Yes, and congratulations are in order to US Soccer, Rog.
Yeah, we often berate them for doing things we perceive to be wrong. But here, today, they've done something remarkable. They backed Prince Ali and not Sepp Blatter in the presidential elections. Prince Ali, the Jordanian candidate, who's never going to beat Sepp Blatter. It's a machine piece of politics. He has the machine locked up. But the vote goes on until May 29th. And I think Ali's plan is to expose and humiliate the corruption at FIFA. And if he does that, his run will be well worth it. He's demanded a public debate with Sepp Blatter, David. I'd love to see that.
Wow, I'd be willing to produce that at Embassy Row.
Well, I'd say Men in Blazers would love to host it.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
I'm going to speak to Sepp Blatter right now because I know he listens to the pod.
Yeah,
Sepp,
GFOP.
You're a venal turd, but our panic room is always open to you.
Yeah, that's an interesting pitch.
Here's my first question.
Yeah. Usually when you start off a pitch for a guest with "you're a venal turd," it doesn't go over so well.
I'm being honest. First question came in from @FreshPrince11. He said the first question you should ask Sepp Blatter in your panic room is, are you more of a Lady Edith man or a Lady Sybil?
Interesting. Yeah, he's a Lady Sybil all over. You just can feel it. Okay, US women's national team. The US women also have a game Sunday in France at noon Eastern on ESPN2. And a reminder that we're looking for a new nickname for the US women, one that can match the wonder that is the Von Trapps, their male counterparts. Send us your suggestions via email or on social media. We've got a custom Stars and Stripes Xbox from the GFOPs at EA Sports for the winner.
And when we're talking to GFOPs, I said we are doing this gig Thursday night in New York City. I know a lot of you are flying in.
Yeah.
The tickets sold out very, very quickly for this Golden Blazer. Anyone in New York who wants to come and hang out, we are doing a drink afterwards.
Oh, where are we doing that, Rog?
We're going to be at the Brass Monkey on 55 Little West 12th Street.
Oh, good.
At around what time, Davey?
I don't know.
9:30.
Oh, my favourite time.
Hope to raise a pint, a Guinness with you all.
Looking forward to it. Or 22 gin and tonics, or whatever that guy drank in the plane behind you on the way to Phoenix.
He had more, Davey. He had a lot more than 22. Our guest today is a man whose athletic abilities have taken him on a remarkable journey from Burnage, Manchester, to the Bay Area, California, USA. He's a 6'5", 315-pound Oakland Raider offensive tackle who originally came to America on a basketball scholarship, but long before he'd heard of a pancake block or ever dominated the low post, he was just an incredibly large Manchester City fan. Large in every way. We welcome to the pod from Manchester, England, on a terrible, terrible Manchester, England phone line, England's very own NFL star, Menelik Watson.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, we're happy to have you on. Where are you calling us from, Menelik? You're in Manchester.
I'm actually outside of Manchester just now. Just actually at getting some dinner, actually. A great steakhouse out here.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I'm absolutely fascinated by your story. You were a Manchester, England kid. You were a powerful footballer, a soccer player, but your career ended in a pretty horrifying, gruesome, shattered ankle, age 12. Well, what kind of a player were you, Menelik? And do you ever think if you hadn't broken your ankle, you'd be playing for Manchester City or New York City or Melbourne City right now?
I really was more like a Yaya Toure, but I didn't really like attacking. I was more of a defensive midfielder. Great communicator. I used to love just being able to communicate, have the guys in front of me and the back of me, assisting at the back, creating plays. And then I was a free kick specialist. My favorite player was David Beckham. So I know he's a Man United guy, but I just loved the way he used to be able to control the football. So I always wanted to kick like Beckham, and I wore the Predators and the shoes he used to wear and everything. And that's how I played the game. I played the game physical. Sideline to sideline kind of footballer. But I loved it, man. I loved it. It brings back great memories when I think about it.
You're getting me excited about your future footballing career. I think England are going to come calling. If you don't mind me saying so, you may have played like David Beckham, but you're a lot better looking than he is, Menelik.
But I appreciate that. Hey, listen, that's a hard task. That's a big statement, man.
You pull it off with style. You pull it off with style. I love the story about how you came over here. You after the shattered ankle, you moved into basketball. You played at Marist, and then you went with one of your teammates who happened to have a relative playing for FSU to watch them play football. And tell us, what did everyone in the crowd when you were at FSU, what did they assume you were when you went to visit?
Well, when I went down there, obviously, I was in the stands and I remember it was hot. I was wearing a vest, a white beater, and I was in the crowd and people thought I was a recruit, and at the time I'm sure I knew nothing about the game. And, it was just an incredible experience, obviously. It was my first time experiencing the game, trying to learn it. Who knew 2 years later I'd be down there actually on the field,
Yeah, I've got to tell you, Menelik,
part about it.
It's why I never wear a wife beater. It's why, honestly, when I the couple of times I've worn one in America, people just assume that I'm also a possible draft pick in the NFL. But before you'd gone there, had you ever watched an NFL game?
No, I never watched the NFL. I played when I was growing up. I probably played Madden once when I was about 11 or 12. Just didn't know what was going on, so I just turned the game off and went back to the game shop and sold it. And I think I got traded in for a rugby game. I had no clue, and when I got to America, obviously, it was all over the TV, it was all in your face. And even my first year in America, I just really wasn't interested in knowing the sport. Obviously, I was engulfed in basketball and the NBA, and that was the dream.
But you've got the physical gift, you've got the foot speed, but how do you catch up with the mental and tactical side of the game?
Well, my body's still kind of adjusting to the sport. Obviously, what we do as offensive linemen is rare. There's nothing natural about what we do. Basically, we're moving backwards at speed to stop another big guy who's coming forward with hundreds of pounds of force. So my body's still getting used to the sport at the level I'm playing, but mentally, basically, I just try and stay in my cocoon. I try and stay in my own world. I don't. I don't listen to the people who pat me on the back, and I don't listen to the people who curse me out. I stay in my own lane. I have goals and expectations. When I first decided I was going to play American football, I told myself I got 2 years. I said, and if I'm not good enough in 2 years, I'll never be good enough. And I'm really, no matter where I was at in terms of school or my football, I gave myself 2 years and I set myself a deadline. And the 2 year mark, I asked about my draft stock, and it was there. So, just sticking to the plan I had set for myself, I decided to leave and had an opportunity to go back. And obviously, they won a national championship the next year. But it was a big thing for me being able to finish that goal and get there. And then obviously once I got to the league, I've set myself more goals, and I'm working to get to achieve those.
I believe Howie Long would take you into the parking lot after FSU games and teach you how to use your hands properly.
No, this was at junior college. It was at junior college. I played with Kyle Long.
Chicago Bear.
He was a left tackle. Yeah, that's my brother. That's my brother. And he played on the left side, I played on the right side, and you know, his dad was really in our ear a lot, you know, about, you know, just doing the right thing, playing the game the right way, physical, nasty, using your hands, using your feet, using your tools, your physical body tools you've got to your advantage. So
Diego Costa style.
Definitely not that way. Definitely not that. But yeah, you know, he's been a great influence on me. You know, Uncle Howie, and you know, every once in a while, you know, when I'm going for a rough patch, you know, I send him a text, and you know, he'll analyze my film, and he'll want to see some other film, and he'll message me back and see what he's seen and let me know what's going on and what I need to fix.
Everyone in life needs an Uncle Howie, Menelik. I read a beautiful quote from you. You said, playing in the FA Cup final at Wembley was something I always dreamed of as a kid. You went back to Wembley with the Oakland Raiders. You played the Miami Dolphins on the Wembley turf. You cut the Wembley turf up a little bit, Menelik, to be honest. Did it feel like you were fulfilling a childhood dream, or did it feel very different?
You know what, it did. I mean, you know, a shame about the result. You know, the result is really put a dampen on the trip, you know, but it was almost like a dream, you know what I mean? I got to walk out there and do, you know, be a captain, and, you know, then they hear the national anthem before a game. You know, I was home, my family got to see what I do for a living. My daughter was there, so she got to see, you know, why I've been absent for a long time. So it was a special time for me.
She got to see you driven backwards by big, powerful men who were trying to batter you, and you try and batter them back. I've got to tell you, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing for the people of England to see one of their own do what you do on a regular basis. But we met Andrew Luck this weekend, and we were chatting to him about this idea. We're very big on this one, Menelik. If there was an NFL World Cup, an American football World Cup, obviously the USA would probably win by triple digits in the final. But who'd come second, Menelik? Who would come second?
Anyone by far. We've got some incredible athletes here. I think we've got some of the best athletes in the world in England. I just don't feel like they've been given the right amount of opportunities. You know, we don't have hundreds of big sports facilities and huge weight rooms and things like that. And we're not very, I think, in terms of sports science stuff, we're behind America. But in terms of the athletes, I mean, we're right there. You know, there's a lot of guys walking the streets who have probably never had the opportunity. You know, weren't coordinated enough to play basketball. You know, and never got the opportunity to play for a team in terms of football. So
I love it. I've penciled my side together, Menelik. I've got you in as captain, if you don't mind taking the armband. I've got Ozzy.
I'll take that on.
I've got Ozzy Umenyiora in there. I've got Mick Luckhurst, the old Atlanta Falcon. Right. I've got Prince Harry in there because I think he's a bit bonkers. He'll be good for us. And Andy Carroll. I put Andy Carroll in there. But unfortunately, I think we'll play Poland in the semi-final, and Sebastian Janikowski is just going to do us.
Probably. I'll get in his ear, throw him off his game a little bit. I'll try to anyway.
I need you, Captain. I need you. How are you experiencing America's love affair with soccer? I mean, we find them falling in love with the game. You are Manchester City mad. How are you? Yeah. How do you partake in your soccer when you are in this country in America? And how have you found the kind of uptick in surging interest?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I know personally where I'm in California, there's a channel, and it's got Premier League encore games on every day. You know, and you know I can catch a game at any time. Obviously, when they're live, and if they're not, you know, I can catch the highlight shows and stuff like that. So it's huge. You know, the annoying thing is like most of the time when the games are playing, I'm at work, so you know I got to catch up on the shows and stuff like that. But I do miss Match of the Day though. That's one thing I do miss.
You were at the game this weekend, right? The Chelsea game.
Yeah. I was down there. Yeah, down there. Had a great time. You know, I'd like to thank everyone at Chelsea and at Manchester City for, you know, allowing me to be up there and stuff. And, you know, I got to walk past Samir Nasri was up there, and I got to see him and stuff and sit at a table and eat with him. You know, I didn't talk to him, but, you know, it was just a great experience, you know. But I think next time I'm going to a game, I'm going to go sit with the fans and sit out there and bear the brunt.
Cause some trouble. 5-point gap, 15 games to play. How would you rank your emotional mood from title is in the bag at level 10 to 0, meaning Jose Mourinho's Chelsea are not going to let this slip, Stevie Gerrard style? They can say that. I guess, you know, anything can happen, as you know from last season and stuff. You know, I think it's definitely not over. I think we had an opportunity to go for the jugular last game, and I think there was a lot of feeling out to begin with.
And once Chelsea scored, we were like, all right, well, they've, you know, and then we went, and I do believe there probably would have been more goals in that first half. But, you know, I think once, you know, we get Yaya back and, you know, that whole fix, I think the biggest thing is we got to learn how to play without him, you know, and at a high level and consistently. Because, you know, that can hinder us sometimes, you know, and then, you know, all the games is all leading up, all, you know, how are they going to perform and stuff. We just got to get over that type of fact that he's not going to be there sometimes and, you know, go out there and dominate. But I think if we just continue to stay focused like they did last season and, you know, the season before that, and just continue to work and keep their heads down and stay in their own locker room, and, you know, everyone stays together, the fans all stay together, and we just continue to fight, you know, they'll end up slipping up, you know, especially if we continue to win. You know, the more we win, the more pressure it puts on them. So that's all we can really control right now.
If I could only guarantee you one of these things, Menelik, and I probably can pull either of them off, but not both. Oakland Raiders get into the Super Bowl, or Manchester City, the team you have loved since being a little child, will win a Champions League title. I can only guarantee one.
Ooh.
Menelik Watson, which will you pick?
Ooh. That's a tough question, That's a tough question, you know.
Reading between the lines, I'm taking this as meaning you prefer a City Champions League win, but that's just me reading between the lines.
No, I definitely prefer a Super Bowl.
There you go. Super Bowl is City for the Champions League. At ZDR88, one of our listeners sent in a question. Menelik, if you had to take a kick square in the gonads from either Yaya Toure or Sebastian Janikowski, which one are you choosing?
If I had to take a kick?
Yeah, in the down belows.
Oh. Probably Seabass because you've got smaller feet.
Last question, not quite as profound nor as important as the last one, but reading your story, and there's an excellent ESPN.com article about your life, your kind of quest, your unbelievable adventure into the NFL. I read it, and you've lived the new immigrant's dream. I mean, you came to America with one duffel bag and a backpack, and I think your experience here is a testimony to the wonders of the United States. We've got a lot of young listeners, Menelik. What message about life should they draw from your own experience?
I think whatever you do, whatever you choose to do, you just gotta want to be the best at it. You gotta strive to be elite. You gotta think elite. You gotta live elite. You gotta work elite. Nothing in this world is handed to you. You know what I mean? So if you want to make something happen, you gotta go out and do it yourself. You gotta be focused. You can't be a follower. You gotta be a leader. You know, you captain your own ship, and then you write your own destiny. You know, I've come from the bottom, literally the bottom of one of the smallest countries in the world. You know, and you know, I'm still building, I'm still growing as a man. Outside of sports, you know, there's still things I'm growing and learning, but you know, there's no excuses, man. There's none. You know, if you want to make something happen, you can. You know, don't be afraid to dream big. I know a lot of guys. Where I grew up, were playing basketball. You know, we're afraid to dream big. You know, and why not? Why dream if you're not going to dream big?
Oh, Menelik, don't take away my excuses. They're all I've got in life. In all sincerity, I find your story absolutely riveting. I love watching you play as an English bloke from Liverpool, right by Manchester, seeing you, knowing where you come of age, and to see you week in, week out with the Raiders. I wish you a restorative off-season. I hope you come back with the hunger and the determination that you've displayed in the last 2 seasons. We cannot wait to watch you go forwards and upwards, and maybe a Manchester City Champions League, maybe not. Godspeed, Menelik. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank you.
To the Ravens, Rog, from Robin Denver in San Jose. Oh, America. There's a comedy routine about to happen.
I wonder if she's related to John.
Yeah, I know. That'd be amazing. Okay, I love the transfer window, Robin writes, and salivate like one. Actually, could have been a man.
It's like saying Mickey Davis is a man.
I love the transfer window and salivate like one of Pavlov's dogs while watching the drama of the last day unfold. But this year, there was no drama, just the mechanics of journalists and broadcasters going through the motions. Why was it so crap? Well, you come to the right place to ask about crap, Robin.
Well, visually it was crap.
Yeah.
In the Sky Television journalists that we see manically outside of stadia as it goes dark in England.
Yeah.
Well, it really goes dark after about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They're normally surrounded by kind of local
youth.
Yeah, local little wildings who surround them and like
feral children.
Yeah, unbelievably feral.
Yeah, hold up sex toys to their ears.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened at an Everton last transfer window. One of the fans inserted a large purple sex toy into one of the broadcaster's ears.
Yeah.
While he was doing a live hit.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't be a little distracting.
Sky decided to ex-nay the fans this time, and it made the whole thing seem unbelievably flat.
Yeah.
That was probably the main reason. But also the big clubs kept their powder relatively dry. Wilfred Boney to Manchester City, Juan Cuadrado, who we've already spoken about, going to Chelsea. But they really used the January transfer window like the bodega that you used to top up a pantry in between proper bulk buying trips to the Costco, which is the summer transfer window.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of action. I think the reality of the January transfer window is teams don't want to give up a lot of players, certainly not their good players. A lot of teams right now fighting for the European places, a lot of teams at the bottom of the table fighting against relegation. Very little mid-table again, Rog. So it's just tough to see a lot of movement.
I mean, I think the happiest club will be West Brom under Tony Pulis, who added once highly coveted Callum McManaman from Wigan and the guile of Manchester United's Darren Fletcher, an experienced head beloved by Sir Alex. Sunderland and Crystal Palace brought in 33-year-old strikers Jermaine Defoe and Shola Amiobi, respectively. But by far, for me, the most striking image of the window, Davey, Aaron Lennon's face as he posed with an Everton jersey.
Yeah, he doesn't look that happy.
He looked a bit like Toby Flenderson from The Office, Davey.
Yeah.
We were chatting about why that. If you haven't seen it, look online, because every single photograph they've taken of Aaron Lennon in a new Everton jersey, with an Everton scarf, posing in the Everton locker room, he's just signalling it wasn't meant to be like this face.
Yeah, you're not that excited about the transfer, I think we can say.
Aaron Lennon 7 years ago would have made me get out of bed.
I think it's actually not a bad piece of business for Everton. You know, Martinez likes wide players. Wide players tend to do quite well at Everton. They've got those wing-backs who get forward and back. Aaron Lennon, I think, is still a very good player, very good right winger, very good at getting to the byline, and earlier this season was in cracking form for Tottenham. But just think of the drive, Rog. You drive around the North Circular from where Aaron Lennon lives, and you see those signs, and those signs say ominously, the North. And you just have to drive up the motorway, up the M1, and then up the M6, and you're going to where the sky is closer to the ground, where the food is a little bit saltier and fattier, where the people just aren't quite as good looking.
And the sexual ethos is a little bit looser.
Yes, without a doubt. And it's just a tougher life up there in the North.
Well, it's home to me. When a player leaves Everton, they're most often dead to me. Aaron Lennon is alive to me.
Yeah.
Mostly because with him and with McCarthy, if you have a speech impediment, you can say Everton now have a Lennon and McCarthy in their midfield, which is a magical duo.
I got it. And McGeady.
Yeah, I'm trying to warm up to him.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope he's smiling on Saturday, is all I can tell you.
He does really, really well up there. I always enjoyed him as a player. Okay, the winner of the coveted Guinness Men in Blazers poet, philosopher, soccer scribe, Raven of the Week is Adam Kirchner of Chesapeake, Virginia. Dear Positive and Toilet, after watching Diego Costa pull a Ndamakong Su and stamp pronounced stomp in America, that's such an interesting language.
Stomping sounds so much cooler, doesn't it?
Yeah. Stomping.
Stomp.
Stamping sounds more evil. Stomping sounds almost playful. On Emre Can, and probably stamp on Skirtle while pretending to simply be trying to catch his balance. It got me thinking. This poses the great philosophical question of modern football fandom that surely only two men wearing tweed can properly answer. Is it worse to have a stamper, a biter, or a racist on your team? Wow. One of, I imagine we're talking about.
Yep. I think if you're asking would I prefer to have Diego Costa, Luis Suarez, or John Terry on my team, the honest answer would be I'd like to have all three, please.
At Everton.
but philosophically,
just as footballers you're talking about.
You're asking philosophically. So the choices are a stamper/stomper, a biter, a racist, / philanderer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we should point out that if you're talking about Suarez has been accused of both and was actually certainly charged by the FA with both biting and a racial incident with Patrice Evra, Rog. So I would say the most evil definitely is racism, no excuse for it. Biting would come second. Stamping would be a distant third for me there.
For me, I'd agree with you, Dave. For me, philosophically, a racist is by far the worst. The other two, I've been thinking about this. We do think about Suarez and we do think about Diego Costa. I think on stamping and biting, everything is about context. It depends about what else they bring to the table. You look at Dennis Rodman, when he was a rebounding fool, and he rebounded with discipline with the Chicago Bulls, he was worth all the sideshow he brought to him. Mm-hmm. And as soon as he let the sideshow take over, he became an utter disgrace and kind of got discarded as a fool.
Yeah, there's truth to that.
So I think that the stamping/biting really is all about context, whereas football has no place for racism.
Yeah, actually, football, I would say, has no place for any of those three things. And certainly as a Chelsea fan, I'm not one of those people who defends what Diego Costa does. I thought it was disgusting. Certainly the first stamp, which was just absolutely... there's no defence for it. There's absolutely no way that was inadvertent. And certainly deserved his ban. Hopefully he learns when he comes back. Okay, Rog, your weekend looks like this. Tottenham versus Arsenal, the North London derby without Aaron Lennon, 7:45 a.m. Saturday
6
on NBC-SN. Yes,
truly
5 against 6.
Unbelievably, wonderfully poised game of football. And I can say, without a doubt, the one I am most looking forward to watching this weekend.
Yeah, because it will not be Everton versus Liverpool, the Merseyside derby, 12:30 p.m. Saturday on the NBC network, Rog. It's going big time. It's going over broadcast. And then West Ham.
By the way, I'll say about that game, it fills me with terror.
Yeah.
We had a tweet today saying on the show last night, Men in Blazers, I bit into the pie. The pie told me 4-0. Everton would lose. Liverpool 4, Everton 0. Mm-hmm. I got a tweet today saying, the pie didn't know about Aaron Lennon.
Yeah.
What will the score be now? Everton have Aaron Lennon. I did bite a pie just before this podcast, and the answer is 5-0 Liverpool.
Yeah. Same as you predicted last time. West Ham versus Manchester United, 11:15 a.m. Sunday on NBC Sports Network. This is a fantastic weekend of Premier League football.
Depends on which couch you are carrying behind while watching the game, David.
There are many ways to connect to us. One is through our Amazon Emporium, which helps keep the show going. Anytime you go to Amazon for items big or small, just click off the Emporium page and Men in Blazers gets a tiny percentage that allows us to cover the costs of creating the show. Rog, what are you going to put in the Emporium this week?
Beautiful book, David.
Yeah.
A Philosophy of Walking by Frédéric Gross. You may know him as a French professor of philosophy.
Yeah.
But he's a bloke who's obsessed with walking. Mm-hmm. And the book is an examination of why so many creative figures, Rimbaud, Nietzsche, Thoreau, they all love to ramble. I love walking.
Oh, you love a ramble.
Especially at the end of a workday through the streets of Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And the book is really a manifesto. He talks about how to walk is to be freed from time and space. The only other thing like it in my life, Davo, is the only time I feel like I do when I walk is when I eat pie.
Wow, that's good. That's lovely. I'm happy for you. We interviewed Andrew Luck in Phoenix, Rog. Remember that? And he recommended a book he just finished. And everybody I've spoken to who's read this book has loved it. I ordered it on Amazon yesterday. It's called The Boys in the Boat.
What would they call it in Newcastle, David?
The Boys in the Boat. And that's by Daniel James Brown. And about the 1936 Olympic U.S. men's rowing team, Rog, who faced terrible, terrible hurdles, including anti-Semitism, on their way to the Olympics, Rog.
Take it from me. There's nothing like a bit of anti-Semitism to make you row that bit faster, David.
Okay, Rog, I'm going to leave it right there. Another way to connect to us, meninblazers.wikispaces.com. That's a wonder of the modern world. Also, go to www.meninblazers.com where you can sign up for our newsletter, The Raven, which we produce with our partner Guinness. You can follow us on Twitter, @Rog Bennett, @Embassy Davies, @Men-in-Blazers. Follow us on Instagram, @Men-in-Blazers, @Embassy_Davies. Go to our Facebook page. We've got a subreddit, Rog. meninblazers.reddit.com. That's maintained by GFOPs Akshay, Calvin, and Alex.
Who are not responsible for various leakages of naked celebrity pictures.
Okay, good. We now have a Spotify account, Rog. Search for men_in_blazers. It has our very first Men in Blazers mixtape, which is a collection of songs near and dear to us. Send your ravens to the crap part of Soho. We got an email the other day. Somebody actually wanted to send us a raven. And you can always email meninblazers@gmail.com.
Can't wait for Thursday night, Dave, to
Yeah,
be in the
live
loving
show.
arms of so many wonderful GFOPs travelling all across the country.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward more to the post-show drinks, Rog. Venderpunkt.
War Pig.
Who wants to sex Matumbo?
Explosion.
Courage.
Creme de la creme.